Hey folks, so I've been watching a lot of different videos on like Facebook and YouTube, and you start watching something and then you go down this rabbit hole, or at least you get fixated on one particular theme or subject matter, and then just as the thunder. Let's see if I can get this video done before the storm comes in. But it's definitely coming. It's been raining the past few days and that's pretty good downpours. But anyway, they start feeding you more and more like videos or similar subject matter. And so the last one I was on, it was more of first I was watching the thing about the flock cameras. If you don't know what the flock cameras are, you can look it up, but it's the highly invasive monitoring surveillance that is sweeping across the country, and there's some of them that are getting actually shut down, but these counties, cities, and states, just all different types of municipalities are getting into these contracts with flock, and the information it's not secure, and there's all kinds of ways to hack them, and you're being tracked no matter where you go. It's more than just license plate reading. It has facial recognition, and there's basically it's accessible via online, and you can get a hold of information that you shouldn't. But anyway, I was watching that, and then got on to police interactions, and I was just seeing all these different instances of where police, man, they always overstep their authority, so they trample on your rights. They try to enforce things that aren't law. It's like lawyers have to get a law degree so they know the law, but police officers, they go through some crash course. They don't have to know the law for squat, and then they're out there law enforcement, right? They're there to enforce what they don't have full knowledge of, and it's a problem. But the big problem that I see is that those that choose to go into that field of law enforcement, whether and you can go across from the totem pole, whether they're security guard, they work in correctional facilities, or they're whatever level of law enforcement, local police, sheriff department, and then you get into the federal levels of the CIA, FBI, ATF, and then like any government agency that they've weaponized. I think even there's some IRS agents that carry firearms. It's crazy. But anyway, there are just way too many instances of these law enforcement officers when they're interacting with the public. They always view who they're interacting with as if they have already committed a crime, and then it's like their job, it's their objective. It's like they have that as when they are engaging with people, they're trying to find something that you did wrong that they can then haul you in on. And that's especially the case when they pull you over in a vehicle. They may get you on, what you may have swerved, went over the yellow line, the white line, or, they get you for any type of traffic violation. And then once they get you pulled over, they ask more information from you than is required for completing that stop that they pulled you over for initially. They ask you, where were you coming from? Where are you going to? And they try to, they're trained to gather this information so that they can violate your rights and haul you off. And it's disgusting. But it's not just law enforcement. So you have pretty much all government, especially but it's in all corporate and it's everywhere. People, man, they get this power grab, and then they lose their moral compass, their the principles that they have of how they want to be treated, how you should treat other people. It's like all that goes out the window once these people get in some form of what they consider control and power. I it's like, those people disgust me, but the whole thing is that people get into these positions and then they abuse the power that they have. And I could never be a person of in any of those positions. I couldn't be in law enforcement. I mean, maybe I could, but I wouldn't be what the department would consider the ideal employee or worker or whatever, because there's no way I would want to violate people's rights. It's like, I can imagine I pull somebody over and even if I did suspect them of something more than just speeding, why would I have interest in searching their car if they were speeding? What I'm saying is, they were speeding, so what could possibly be in their vehicle that caused them to speed that would gain my interest? Don't understand that. But it just, it really pisses me off that people abuse their power, and if you're one of those people, you disgust me. You are disgusting, subhuman, and you need to learn how to respect others the way you want to be respected. Maybe those that are like that, they don't want to be respected, that's how they want to be abused. I don't know. Anyway, I've had my fair share. Well, I can't say that. I've not had my, I don't know what you want to call fair share, but yeah, okay. So I had my fair share of interactions. Oh, I think it's gonna start raining here real soon. We'll get this wrapped up. So majority of my interactions with police have been speeding tickets. I got one in Virginia when I was in the Navy. I was racing on the interstate. I was racing a pickup truck in my Trans Am, and I think he had a bigger engine in his. I think I had a 305 in mine. I think he had at least he probably had the 350, but he was ahead of me. And so the cop came up, he pulled me over first, and then got the pickup truck. Anyway, so that was one. But anyway, yeah, might have been speeding, and most of the time the interactions went well. I know there was one time when I was traveling across the country. I think it was maybe in Oklahoma. The police officer was asking some questions that had nothing to do with the stop. He pulled me over, he said, because he saw me go over the fog line, and the fog line evidently is the white line on the right side edge before you get in over to the edge of the road. He said that I had swerved over and I crossed the fog line, and I'm pretty dang sure I did not. I was pretty well focused, and I think he just saw I was out of state because I had a rental vehicle from Vegas, I think. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So he pulled me over, and we had some gifts that were wrapped in the back seat. And so he was asking more questions than needed for what he's pulled me over for. And he's like, oh, someone's birthday? He's like, just whether it was small talk, I doubt. It's more of, hey, he's trying to gather information and seeing if he can put two and two together and see if there's something else he can get us for. But, I was carrying at the time, so I told him, I hate this, is that when you're traveling from state to state, that you have to know each state's laws regarding firearms as to whether you have to notify the police whether you're carrying or not. Each state's different, and if you don't and then they find out you have, you can get in trouble. So I can't remember whether that was one or not, and I think I do remember that I notified him, and he responded appropriately, because I told him that I was licensed to carry and that I am exercising my right. And he said something to the effect of, he goes, tell you what, he goes, you don't pull yours out and I won't pull mine out. I was like, fair enough. So he seemed like a pretty good guy, but yeah, again, he was asking questions that just didn't pertain to the stop, and I was like, I don't want to answer that. So I get really ticked off when I'm watching these videos when these police officers are, violating these people's rights. And, it goes when I was watching Cops, back in the day when Cops was on as a series. Each time, they would stop people, they would, it's like the Fourth Amendment means nothing to them, and that's like the almost always the majority of the time that's the one right that is violated, the amendment that's violated time and time again. And yeah, it's really very frustrating. I did have one instance where I had an interaction with a police officer, well, a group of police officers actually, where I was detained. I was handcuffed for a good 30 minutes before they let me go. And again, it had to do with firearms. Was when I was living in Indianapolis. There was a small group of us gun people, whatever, that organized different things online on different forums. But we decided to go downtown, right across from the city-county building where the police station is and everything. And there's a little farmer's market, a whole bunch of little restaurants and stuff, little quick mom and pop restaurant shops in this one little building. But we were out there in the courtyard, and there was, I don't know, probably, there was less than a dozen of us that got together. But we went down there, and I had a print shop at the time, so I printed up a whole bunch of flyers that basically we always got together to let people know what their constitutional rights were there in Indiana for carrying firearms. And so we printed out little cards that had some quick reference things on it, and then printed up like a flyer type page that went more in detail. It was just some good literature, passed out to let people know what their actual rights were for carrying on in Indiana. That is open carry state. They actually didn't differentiate between open carry and concealed carry. But I can go rambling on more about the firearm stuff. But anyway, we were down there, and I was open carrying. I had my handgun. Actually, I had two handguns. I had the one on my hip that I was open carrying, and then I had also a concealed carry that I had in my back pocket. That was a smaller handgun that fit in my pocket quite well. And then I also had my knife with me in my pocket. And so we were meeting up as more of our group got together. I think it was, near a dozen of us. One of my friends that actually he became a deputy sheriff later after this incident. But he came down strapped on. I think he had an MP5 strapped to his chest. And I don't know if anyone else brought rifles, but he brought that MP5. And then the rest of us all had handguns. So anyway, we're down there, and then next thing we know, we start seeing police officers starting to show up, and they're starting to surround us. And there was I imagine there was probably at least 6 officers that came up to us, and then I'm sure there was others that were standing off, at the ready, whatever. So they come up to us and they start asking us some questions. And so we we were always polite and everything, because you know, hey, we're there for the people, and we're handing out these flyers, and I'm sure they could see that we were doing that. And I had a backpack, because I had all that literature in my backpack. And again, I had some little business card size things, and then the flyers, and so we were passing them out. And so the cops came up to us, and so they were said that they had some calls about, you know, concerned citizens, you know, seeing, you know, the group of us there open carrying. And like, yeah, we're just out here doing our duty of notifying and informing the public of their rights. And they didn't know what to think about the dude with the MP5. I think that was the first one that they had disarmed. They took his MP5, and of course we all had our weapons loaded. You don't carry unless it's loaded, and if you do, you're a risk, because you're not prepared for any situation that could come up, and there's lots of videos backing that fact. But anyway, they disarmed him, and then slowly they were working around to each of the guys that was in our group, and they were disarming. They were asking each one of us to disarm. So they're asking us to remove it from the holster, you know, and to remove the magazine, remove the round from the chamber, and so they were disarming us. And that right there, they were violating our rights. So I was the last one that they came to disarm. And I think at the time I had, what was that I was carrying? It was a Beretta. Yeah, it was a Beretta. It was a Navy themed Beretta that I was M9 that I was carrying. And anyway, so he asked me, this big taller dude cop come up to me, and he said, "I need you to disarm." And I politely said, "No, sir, I will not." And I don't know where that came from, where I had the courage, the stones to say that when everybody else was complying and disarming. I was like, something didn't feel right about it, you know. And I was like, "No, sir, I will not." And so what I saw him reaching behind his back, and he was grabbing his handcuffs. So he grabs those. I was like, "Are you serious?" And so he said, "I need you to put your hands behind your back." I was like, I did nothing wrong, and so, you know, it was like, from there it just went south for me. Of course, I believe I let him know that I was not going to resist, and I would be compliant with lawful orders. So the fact that he decided to detain me, I don't know, that just wasn't, pissed me off. Anyway, so he goes ahead and handcuffs me, and then he starts to disarm me. And so he's reaching for my handgun, and I was like, "Can you lock that first?" I said, "I don't want you pulling that out without it being locked." And he asked me if there was one in the chamber. I was like, "Well, there absolutely is one." And so he did. He fumbled around, so he got it locked. So then he removed it, and then he proceeded to, before he handcuffed me, he took my backpack off and set it on the ground in front of me. And of course, he opened it up to see what was in there. And then, so then he handcuffed me, and then after he disarmed me and he removed the magazine and the round from the chamber, he set that down on my backpack, and so there I was handcuffed, and I had my knife in my pocket, which I could still reach around and grab, but then my hands were right there for my back pocket that had my other handgun in it. You know, had my little 380 Ruger that I had at the time, and I didn't say anything. I just let him be. But that instance right there just proved to me that this was more of an intimidation tactic than it was for our safety, because he obviously didn't follow protocol. None of us were patted down per se. They only removed what they visually saw. So the fact that he didn't see my knife, I don't know. I guess he just wasn't looking. But the fact that we weren't patted down has proved that the disarming of our firearms was not for their safety, for the public safety. It was an intimidation, and it was just, hey, look at my authority, what I'm doing to you. You're just a subhuman, whatever. It was disgusting. But the fact that I still had my handgun, you know, I thought about it afterwards, and I should have spoke up after they released us, and then, you know, when I was unhandcuffed and given my property back, I should have spoke up and asked for a manager, or, you know, for their supervisor or whatever, and went more for the instance. But man, that shook me up so much. For the rest of the day, I was ticked off. But a few days later, I went downtown. I filed a police report, a complaint, but even that didn't go anywhere, because when I filed the complaint, they have evidently 2 complaint systems, and the first one is just an informal complaint, and that's what I had filed, and then there's a formal complaint, and so the 2 go through two different processes. And it's horrible on the whole department's part that you go in to file a complaint, you're dealing with the police department themselves for that complaint, and so it's already biased, because, you know, they're like, look at non-police officers as, oh, you're going to file a complaint on us, okay, well, they're going to do what they can to suppress it. So it's exactly what they did. So the fact that they have these 2 different channels and they don't let you know that, you know, so basically my complaint went nowhere. But it was more of a lesson learned from my perspective. I learned more about the law, and then you know, more of what my rights are. And I definitely had a case there I could have proceeded with for, you know, an actual lawsuit. But yeah, I was so busy with my printing business and everything at the time. I just yeah, it was more I sucked it up, and it was a lesson learned than anything. But it just, that instance, right, dealing with the police and how they try to intimidate, and then they don't respect your rights at all. That instances like that is what makes people like me lose respect for police officers. And then when you see all these other instances going on of the very same thing over and over and over again, it's I don't know what can be done. It would take quite a bit to change the behavior of police officers. You totally need to remove the immunity that they have, because they're in essence protected from anything, but not every state and municipality has that. So it's just in some instances, I guess. But anyway, I very much have a disdain, I don't know, for anybody that, especially in government, that is abusing power. You guys disgust me to no end, and I hope you lose your jobs. You don't deserve those positions, and tell you, I think the storm has passed. I got just a little bit of rain, but it wasn't much. So, hey, if you've had interactions with police, give me, you know, put up in the comments what your interaction has been, good or bad, or indifferent. I just hope I never have to experience that type of situation again. But if I do, I think I certainly know how to handle it differently. But anyway, that's where I'm at today. I got a whole lot more about people in authority abusing their power, and it's rampant throughout everywhere, and it's disgusting. It pisses me off. But anyway, hey, continue to check back because I'm gonna keep putting out more content. So if you like this video, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for upcoming videos, and until next time.